Time now for business with Kate Moody. Kate, good to see you. The U.S. Congress has been deadlocked for months over another stimulus plan, but there are some signs of progress today.
Yeah, some signs of progress and also huge signs of divisions that still remain. We've heard a compromise proposal being put forward by a bipartisan group of lawmakers who are looking to really split the difference between the Democrats' $2.2 trillion plan and the Republicans' $500 billion proposal. Those were being discussed before talks broke down a few weeks ago. Now, this compromise is a $908 billion relief package, and it's really being framed as emergency support rather than stimulus for the medium to longer term. The draft would include more aid for small businesses, airlines, and state and local governments, as well as a scaled back but still extended supplement to unemployment benefits. It does not include direct stimulus checks to American families. The stakes here are very high. Millions of people could lose their access to unemployment benefits at the end of this year if some of the emergency measures that were enacted earlier in the year aren't renewed by the end of December. Now, there's absolutely no assurance that this bipartisan bill would pass either the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives or the Republican Senate. And in fact, the Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, has shot down this bipartisan offer. We've heard renewed, very different offers from both parties coming out this Tuesday. But what this proposal really does underscore is that a month after the election, some lawmakers are really looking to move on from the hyper-partisan divisions that have really characterized the last few months and bring some good news to their constituents before the Christmas break and before the Biden administration takes office. Take a listen.
We recognize that families all across America are struggling, that businesses are closing, that hospitals are overwhelmed.
It's not the time for political brinkmanship. You'll not see any of that here today on this stage. And we're going to intend to move this forward after months of failing to act for one reason or another.
And Kate, you mentioned that millions of people could lose their unemployment benefits at the end of the year. What exactly are the stakes?
Well, some 12 million people stand to lose out on these emergency benefits that were brought in the month of March. We saw, for example, new measures that extended the period of time during which people could claim unemployment benefits. That was brought in March. That could expire at the end of December, as could a measure that extends coverage to independent and gig economy workers who aren't usually eligible. Now, the U.S. labor market has been strengthening gradually, but this really underscores the depth of the current jobs crisis, which economists have warned could last for some time here. Now, separately, the heads of the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. Federal Reserve are continuing a spat over their emergency lending programs, which also will expire at the end of December. The Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, who's part of the Trump administration, refused to extend those programs last month. He said that he believed they were no longer necessary. Jerome Powell, who is head of the nominally, at least, independent central bank, says that small and medium-sized businesses risk further damage if they can't access those funds. It's a really rare but very public split here. Both men testifying on Capitol Hill earlier, defending their own positions, but throwing some cautious support behind that bipartisan plan.
So meantime, there have been some major developments from the president-elect Joe Biden. He unveiled more of his team of economic advisors. What does that look like?
It's a very diverse but pretty familiar team. We saw Joe Biden speaking alongside his nominee to replace Mnuchin at the head of the Treasury. That's the former Fed chief, Janet Yellen. He told Americans that help is on the way. His team is already working on relief measures that he would bring in after he's sworn in. And he says that anything that's passed before he takes office is just a start. He introduced 5 more members of his team of economic advisors. It's a diverse group that includes women and minorities. Adewale Adeyemo could be the first Black Deputy Treasury Secretary, rather. Neera Tanden could be the first woman of color to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Some of those positions would have to be confirmed by the Senate. Now, many of these are familiar faces, where we saw Donald Trump drawing on political neophytes directly from the world of business. Many of Biden's teams have served under previous Democratic administrations, including Barack Obama's. Janet Yellen, whose tenure at the head of the Fed was cut short, or not renewed, rather, by Donald Donald Trump back in 2018, has said that she will, if she's confirmed to the head of the Treasury, devote herself to rebuilding the American dream. She said urgent action is needed to address a tragedy of economic crises that have been brought on by this pandemic. And in particular, she says that she'll really focus on making sure that this recovery reaches everybody, noting that the pandemic has had a disproportionate effect on the most needy.
Okay, Kate Moody with Business, thank you so much. And thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more world news here on France 24.